drive you insane. It is not going to be a piece of cake. There's going to be some negotiations. There's going to be some delegations. There's going to be some frustrations. There's going to be some miscommunications. But you are not supposed to feel less of a person in your relationship than what you did before you got into that relationship. Because remember, we're supposed to be getting into relationships that build us up. So if you feel like you are being torn down, restricted, limited, or in any way, shape, or form, whether you're self inflicting that restriction on yourself to be a people pleaser and conflict avoidant in your relationship, or if you're actively being oppressed by your partner, that's not the kind of relationship that you belong in. So if you guys are ready to start the journey to truly being healed, stick with me. It's going to be a pretty thick couple of hours of information we're going to be talking about. You might have to take a break and come back and watch the rest of it, but this show is always on replay. I don't take down any of the shows that are providing you guys with the information that you need to better yourself. So you can always go back and watch this again later if in the event that you need to. But this is going to be your guide to breaking free. All right, let's start with the foundation, the core of your escape plan. Now, this is the structured, logical, and proven path of traditional cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT is so effective because it doesn't just talk about feelings, it gives you a practical, hands on way to change the very architecture of your thoughts and behaviors. So it works by revealing the invisible loop that keeps you trapped. A situation leads to a thought, which triggers an emotion, and that drives a behavior, right? Now, toxic relationships are masters at hijacking this loop. Our goal is to interrupt it, to take it apart piece by piece so that you can take back your control. So, the first step we're going to talk about is understanding the identity of the toxic pattern, whichever pattern that may be. Because before you can change anything, you have to see it clearly. Toxic relationship isn't just one bad fight or a rough patch in a relationship. That's not what it's about. It is a consistent, pervasive pattern of behaviors that slowly eats away at your self worth, your peace, and your sense of reality. These patterns are often subtle at first, but over time, they create an environment of anxiety, depression, and constant alert. So, your first task is to become a detective in your own life. Get a notebook or open a private document and just start tracking it. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I understand that a lot of us are in relationships where our partner's going through our phone. Look, Samsung and iPhone both have the opportunity to create um, secured files where those secured files have a password to unlock it, which should not be the same password that you use to unlock your primary phone. Now, when you're doing stuff like this, you want to put stuff that you don't want to have conflict in your relationship in that secured file. Um, and you can put anything in there. You can put photos you don't want them to know about, text messages, emails, anything, whatever you don't want your partner to know about. You can put it into that secured file thing. Now, you're in a relationship with a partner that is digging for dirt, they're going to want to unlock that. The answer is no. If they're not okay with that, they can break up with you because while reasonable levels of transparency is acceptable in every relationship, every person has their own right to autonomy, which means that not everything is going to be told to your partner. There's going to be things that you're going to keep from your partner because you don't want to hurt their feelings, because you don't want them to hurt your feelings, because you want to surprise them with something. And just because you're, would I say happy birthday to me or to you? um, so uh, in that particular dynamic, your ability to do this, you can get you a note from like open one of those apps and start jotting this information down and then securing it into the app, into the secured files. That way, it is restricted information. That way, they don't have access to it. And you're going to start tracking what's going on. Okay. Now, Brenda apparently wants me to say happy birthday. I'm assuming that Brenda has a birthday today. So, anybody who has a birthday for the first, happy birthday. Since we're crawling into the second, anybody that has a birthday on the second, happy birthday to you too. Uh, because it's not my birthday. Now, when we start tracking this information, you're not judging or analyzing it yet. Not at all. You are just observing. What are the reoccurring behavior patterns? And this is how you're able to determine the difference between um, sporadic behavior patterns where we just didn't click on a certain day because we weren't on the same wavelength, we wasn't communicating properly, versus deliberate behavior patterns that trigger deliberate responses specifically in certain situations with an underlying ulterior motive. That's the difference. Okay. Now, when we're looking at it, is it constant criticism that is disguised as helpful advice? Is it gaslighting where your partner um, denies your reality, making you feel like you're going crazy? Things like that never happened or you're being too sensitive. Is it a silent treatment that happens when you're trying to talk to or communicate with your partner and work out an issue where you're punished with withdrawal and stonewalling for hours, weeks, days, right? Is it a pattern of control where your finances, friendships, or a time are monitored overly in an unnecessary fashion and then restricted when the other person is not satisfied with what you're trying to do? These are the things that you want to document. Also, while I'm thinking about it, you want to document when these things occur because, say, for example, you're in the type of relationship where you guys have a good time, but your partner, to prevent from you guys ending up in an intimate situation, will spark an argument on the way home or as soon as you get home so that you guys are in a fight and not wanting to be around each other instead of getting closer to one another. Where, ironically, right before you guys are supposed to um, get closer, something unexpectedly happens where you're arguing over absolutely nothing to keep distance between the two of you. There's also scenarios where if your partner wants something, money, gifts, whatever, and you don't have it or you're not willing to give it to them at that time, and it leads to an argument or a conflict, that's another thing, which leads to the argument being triggered by a specific event. And that type of pattern of behavior where we only end up in arguments if I don't give you money, or we only end up in arguments if I don't do this, or we only end up in, see what I'm saying? That's a pattern of behavior. You want to be able to document these things. And for each instance, you want to write down the exact situation that happened. And right next to it, you want to write down how you felt in that moment. Did you feel small, anxious, confused, ashamed, frightened, pissed off, stressed out, whatever it is? This isn't about building a legal case against your partner because you're not taking the situation to court. It's about validating your own experiences. It's about seeing the pattern written down in black and white, making it undeniable to yourself. And this is the evidence that uh, what you're feeling is real. So if you're experiencing this over a period of time, say you did this for a few weeks or a few months, and you're able to, Lord knows you do it for a few months, but you're tracking this information and you're able to look back at each other time that you felt this way, where it was a similar situation. You're able to recognize it even if your partner is in denial. It is not for you to document the stuff and then show your partner. This is for yourself, for you to recognize it even when they tell you that you're not being realistic, that this is all in your head, that you're remembering the scenario wrong. If you tell your partner, or if your partner says that they're going to do something, or if your partner declares something, or if your partner forces you to declare something in a certain way, you want to jot these things down. And then when the situation backfires and you guys end up in a scenario where they're trying to recall the conversation in their own way, that makes it seem like you were right, you were wrong from the gate. You have it documented on a specific day and a specific time that no, that's not what happened, because I wrote it down 3 weeks ago, and this is what happened. And it's not for you to defend with them. It's for you to acknowledge that they have a problem. You're acknowledging it. You're not going to entertain it at this time. You're going to remove yourself from that discussion because you understand that that is not going to end well for you. But we're going to talk about what we're going to do about this as we move along. But you also learn by going through this, um, that it's a perfectly rational response to a toxic environment. So you're not too sensitive when you're in these situations and you're not feeling as happy as you believe that you should be feeling. You're responding to real harm in these situations. Hello, Claudia. How are you tonight? Next step, number two, we're going to map your personal CBT loops. Now that you're spotting the patterns, let's map them out in the CBT model. This is where you connect the dots between what they do and what you think, how you feel, and what you do next. So let's use a clear example. Imagine your partner comes home in a bad mood. They're giving you one word answers and just slamming the cabinet doors. Situation is, the partner is silent and seems angry. You, automatic thought, oh no, what did I do? I don't know why people feel this way. I'm a little bit different. You start slamming doors. I'm sitting over here trying to figure out what the hell you slamming stuff for. Okay. She said, "What is your channel about?" Well, we have a massive bio. However, this and that, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, we actually provide relative information for adults to be able to, and young adults, to be able to improve themselves. We talk about 3 days out of the week about how to improve their finances and how to improve their ability to be successful in business. And then 3 days out of the week, we talk about how to improve their personal life, their relationships, and their social interactions with other people. And then on Sundays, we do questions and comments from the fans. So any left field radical questions that you have that's unrelated to the rest of the other 6 days out of the week can typically be reserved for Sunday, which every day you're learning something different because we cover a different topic every day of the week. And we go live every night of the week. We typically start at the top of the hour at about 11 Eastern Standard Time, which is 10 Central Standard Time. And then we carry it for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on the length of information and the quantity of interactions that we have in the comment section. Today, we're supposed to be talking about, because one of the fans had asked late last week, how to get out of a relationship that is not good for you. And since we were talking about something completely different that was highly important, I made it clear to them that I would cover that on the show. So I'm dedicating this entire show to mixed martial arts' question from last week about how to get out of a relationship that is not good for you. So that's what we're talking about today. Now, while I understand, ladies, this is a male driven podcast from the male's perspective, I'm a man of uniformity. So this isn't going to be one of those red pill, blue pill, black pill podcasts. When the roles are reversed, ladies, the information that I'm providing, y'all can clearly utilize this for yourselves. But, ladies, while you're on this show and you're observing this information from a male's perspective, this is because men experience this too. And I'm giving men the ways that they can utilize this information to improve themselves and improve their abilities to interact in their relationships. So, if you're in a relationship and you've either done this, you've seen it happen, you watch your homegirls do it, you've seen your partner do it, you know what this is about, it resonates with you, you can learn from it, you can change from it. If you're the cause of the situation, you can observe how you could behave differently to prevent this from negatively impacting your partner when you may not have intentionally done it before. But if you're experiencing it, you can also navigate around it so that you are not allowing yourself to experience it anymore. Because one of the things that we stand on this show is accountability and responsibility. I know those are two dangerous words for y'all to hear, but you are the person that is first and foremost responsible for your actions and the actions of the people around you, which makes it your responsibility to not force people to do things differently, but not allow yourself to experience certain things that aren't good for you. Then you have to take responsibility for yourself. You have to behave better before you can call yourself holding someone else accountable for being better and doing better. You must step up first and do better first, because what they always say, you can't throw rocks in a glass house. He who is without sin casts the first stone. You can't speak about righteousness if you're not willing to accept your own flaws and failures in the situation first. Start making changes to improve yourself first, and then ask for cooperation from your partner so that they can get what they're looking for out of this as well, because the relationship is about the both of you, not just you. And typically, the modern Western culture requires men to drive the direction of the relationship, and the women are usually along for the ride. And it's not working that way. It doesn't work that way, specifically because if all of the effort comes from the man making the woman happy, where he's buying her gifts and taking her nice places, he's spending 41% of his income on keeping her happy, and she's complaining about the only thing that she actually volunteers to do, which is cook and clean for the man and potentially sleep with the man. It's like, well, shit, you dropped the ball before you even started complaining, because there's more to this relationship than cooking, cleaning, and having sex with your man. But not too many women think about that. Most women think that they're the best thing since sliced bread, and they're like prime real estate and dating because they have a career and an education. But those are the qualifications of a successful man, not a good wife. Good wives do not need an education. Good wives do not need $100,000 a year, but it is beneficial in an egalitarian relationship. But it's only beneficial if you're not going to use your 2 or 3 or 5 degrees to make your man feel like he's stupid. You are supposed to use your 2 or 3 or 5 degrees to aid your man in being successful, finding alternative ways in being successful. If his plan didn't work, you have a backup plan. It's not about you saying his plan is stupid because you went to college and he didn't, or he went to college, but you still are going to college getting a second degree. It's about helping your man be a better man, since your stock as a woman is to get provided for by the man that you selected. So you need to treat him like a stock option. You invest in his success so that his success can be shared with you. You don't need a man. You don't have to need a man at all, ever. But when you get one, the one that you get should have been the one that you chose to make the decisions that you agree with, so that when he gives you instructions, you can follow them, because you don't elect a leader that you're not willing to follow. We just had that happen last year. What, 70% of 385,000 people voted in a president, and now half the country's pissed off. You pick that leader, now you follow his instructions. That's how it happens. Even in dating, it works the same way. You want the man to lead, not follow. You want him to provide. You're not providing for him. And as a result, you have to do two things. You have to pick a man that makes the decisions that you agree with, which means you're not paying attention to how much money he's spending on you to impress you. You're paying attention to the kind of decisions that he makes that you think are okay or not okay, because that is going to dictate whether or not y'all are going to fight about decisions in the future. And is he responsible with money? So if he's $500 a night and he doesn't know your last name, he's irresponsible. But if he's five coffees and maybe a small meal, let's cook at the house kind of thing, we're going to do this on a cheap end. It's not about five-star restaurants. It's about the fact that he's not wasting money on a stranger. Because if he can waste money on a stranger when he first meets you, what makes you think he's not going to waste money on a stranger when y'all been dating for 5 years? Because his behavior is not going to change. Men change a lot slower than women. We spend so much time trying to fix everything around us that we don't fix ourselves as quickly as women will fix themselves to be the person that they think is perfect for them, not what a man wants. And then after that, they're 35 years old, they know what they want, they're set in stone, and nothing's going to change it. Men are willing to flex because they don't know what each woman expects of them, and they're willing to adapt to every relationship to be the man that she wants outside of core expectations that never changes. So you have a very malleable man, and then you have an immovable object that is a woman. And this comes into a relationship that is supposed to mesh together. These two mentalities come together. So here on the show, we try to give you guys a lot of information to help y'all be better than what you were. Because ladies, if you're more flexible with your expectations, and men, you stand on your non-negotiable expectations, the women are not going to lose interest in the men because they dominated the man and they don't want a man that is submissive. You don't want a man that is submissive, but you don't want the man to control your narrative. There isn't a middle ground there. It either he's following your lead because you're $150,000 a year career woman. You're protecting and providing for him because you're an alpha boss lady, and he's going to be the stay-at-home husband, or you're going to follow his lead because you can't have two leaders. You can't have two captains of the same ship. You can't have two drivers of the same car. At the end of the day, only one of you is driving his car at a time. Okay. And you have to decide when you're going to give the wheel to somebody else. And I think that's a very massive analogy, ladies, because when the same way you finally allow your kids to drive your car and you ride in the passenger seat, the same way you're willing to ride in the passenger seat with this man instead of driving yourself, you choose to allow this person to take the wheel. Now, that doesn't make you any worse of a driver. That doesn't mean you don't know how to drive. It doesn't mean that you're not capable of driving. You don't need this person to drive you. You've been driving yourself your whole adult life, but you don't have to anymore. Now you get in the passenger seat, and half the time you don't even have to touch the doors because you don't have to. That's the same responsibility in the rest of the relationship, right? So, back to this toxicity thing. If we're in a situation where the partner is silent, seeming angry, um, you're thinking to yourself, what did I do? You thinking that they're mad at you. I don't know why. They're got you thinking that you messed something up, and you're starting to put it in your mind that you have to fix what happened. You're running over, and men do this all the time. We run over there and we blame ourselves, and we're apologizing for God knows what. It's just to make your partner happy. This is a cognitive distortion called personalization, where you automatically assume that you are the cause of something negative when you had absolutely nothing to do with the situation at hand. And typically, women handle this a lot different than men because women will internalize it, go in the back and cry about it. Men will superimpose themselves in shit that ain't got nothing to do with themselves and try to fix other people's bullshit. Look, your emotions here: fear, anxiety, maybe that tight knot of panic in your stomach, sometimes in your throat. Let's rate this intensity from 0 to 100. You're maybe at an 85. Your physical sensations: your chest is going to feel tight, your breathing gets shallow. Your behavior patterns: you're immediately starting to apologize. You're asking, are you okay? Did I do something? You start walking on eggshells, trying to appease them. Maybe dropping your own plans for the evening to cater to their mood. You see the loop? You went from getting your shit done to making sure that their anger and frustration that you had no impact on is no longer there, right? The situation triggered an automatic, unexamined thought that you were to blame. And that thought created intense anxiety, and that anxiety drove you to a behavior of apologizing and appeasing. that reinforces the dynamic where you're responsible for their emotions. When you're not responsible for emotions that you did not impact. And I'm going to say this again, ladies, because this applies to you too. You are not responsible for emotions that you did not impact. Okay. This loop is the engine of the toxic cycle. So for the next week, your only job is to notice your loop. This isn't about them walking in the house pissed off. They can walk in the house pissed off every day, but it's about you paying attention to how you respond to it. Don't judge them for them coming because they got a shitty job. They come in the house pissed off every day. That's good. But it's not your responsibility to apologize to them because they got a shitty job. When you feel that speck of anxiety or a little bit of shame, just ask yourself, what was the situation? And what was the exact thought that just went through my head? Write it down. Just noticing it is going to be the first step to dismantling the machine. Cognitive restructuring and rewriting your thoughts. This is going to be step three. And this is going to be the heart of the CBT because now that you can see your automatic thoughts, now it is time for you to challenge them. Cognitive restructuring is how we examine the evidence for and against your thoughts to build more balance. This is going to be realistic alternatives. The most powerful tool for this is a thought record, which is why we're documenting it. Sounds clinical, but it's a lifeline. Let's stick with our example. You've identified the automatic thought. They're mad at me. I've done something wrong. Now, we put that thought on trial. Create columns on your notebook. The situation is your partner is silent, slamming cabinets. Automatic thought was, it's my fault. I'm in trouble. Emotional intensity is the anxiety of 85% for the evidence level. That is for the thought. Well, they're angry and I'm the only one here. In the past, they've been mad about things that I've done, right? Now, the evidence against this exact same thought. This is where you become fierce and defense for yourself. They had a horrible day at work yesterday. They mentioned being stressed about deadlines. They often get quiet when they're overwhelmed. They haven't actually said a single word that indicates I did anything wrong. This is their typical pattern when they're stressed about other things that's got nothing to do with me, right? The balanced alternative thought. Their silence and anger are going to belong to them. It might have nothing to do with me at all. And they're responsible for managing their own stress and for communicating with me if there is an issue with me. Now, I can't read their mind and I'm not even going to try. It is not my job to fix their mood. I can be respectful without panicking and taking the blame. So if they're slamming stuff, I pass back behind them, make sure that the door actually closes itself. Because you know, when you slam the cabinet door hard enough, it don't actually close, it just slams and it's kind of just lingering open. I'll go behind them and just gently close the doors. They're throwing stuff in the sink and take them out the sink and they'll put in the dishwasher and turn the dishwasher on. It is what it is. Sometimes you just have to let them get through it on their own. So notice at no point in this observation are you attacking the other person for how they feel or what they're doing. Okay. You want to re rate your emotions and intensity because now, if you think about it, how does that balanced thought feel? Because the anxiety might not be gone. but it drops from an 85 to maybe a 40. That's an improvement. You do this over and over. Every time a toxic interaction triggers that familiar rush of self blame, you document a challenge for yourself to reassess how you interact with that interaction. You're training your brain to see reality, not the distorted version the relationship has conditioned you to see. And this is not situations where you went through this toxic relationship boot camp and your partner trained you to be this way. This is natural reactions that typically comes from your own personal upbringing and bad relationships from the past. And it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic relationships. This could have happened from your workplace. This could have happened from social interactions in society. It could come from anywhere. Okay. But you develop this and now you have to break it. And this process also helps you target the deeper beliefs, core beliefs that toxic partners so often exploit in an intentional fashion, and non toxic partners accidentally exploit this in an unknowing fashion. Belief like I'm unlovable, I'm not good enough, or I'm going to be abandoned. By gathering evidence against your daily automatic thoughts, you're also chipping away at these painful, untrue core beliefs and building a case for your own worth. And these are really important because you do realize now, people say that jealousy is attractive, and to a minimalistic degree, it is. You as a person feel wanted when your partner starts acting funny, when they feel insecure about your situation when you're interacting with someone else, when they start acting strange because they are afraid that you are going to leave them for somebody else. They don't want you to leave. And that not wanting you to leave makes you feel good. But their fear that you're going to leave is not good for them. And it is hard because those people who don't want their partner to fear them leaving is going to fear their partner's fear. And now you have both people having an anxiety attack over absolutely nothing, where one person's freaking out because they think their partner's going to leave them, and the other person is freaking out because their partner is freaking out. And you're trying to reassure them that you're not going anywhere. This wears both of you down emotionally. Eventually, one partner's not going to give a shit if you leave, and the other partner's not going to give a shit how you feel. You don't want to get this way. You also have obsessive compulsive behaviors that occurs from jealous behavior when you believe that you're not good enough. Instead of improving how you perform for your partner, you just believe that you're not good enough. You yell, fuss, and cuss at your partner. You subjugate them from society so that they don't find somebody better because they're stuck with you. You keep them in a bird cage to deal with that I'm not good enough mentality. I'm going to be abandoned. You're searching their phone, you're GPS tracking them, you're popping up on them in different places. You're, you know, contacting their friends through your phone when you're not there paying attention to it. They're being a detective. They're like the next episode of Cheaters, really trying to prove that you messed up because they believe that you're going to abandon them in this relationship. If your partner believes that your ass wasn't going nowhere, that you're only home from work late because you got stuck in traffic or construction rerouted the cars, or you were just still at work late covering extra hours because you could use the money, and they just know that when you're done living life, that you will come straight home. They don't give a damn how long it takes for you to get home because they know you're coming straight home. If you got the kind of partner that knows that even if you was bleeding to death, that your last breath would be on the doorstep of your partner, they got the most confidence. But if they can swear to God that if you drive past a strip club that you're gonna get three women pregnant on the way back, they're gonna want to smell your dick because you're 5 minutes late because the traffic light took too long. It is a completely different emotional experience. I'm just being real with you. It's a completely different emotional experience. But your lack of confidence that your partner does not want to leave you is going to cause you to start acting ridiculous. And that's why we need to check that, because it's not about ignoring how your partner feels. It's not about ignoring how you feel. It's about rethinking how you feel in a more positive fashion. Now, step four, we're going to start setting and rehearsing some non negotiable expectations for behavior for yourself so that you can get better at this. Because, I know a lot of people like listing boundaries. And when you start creating boundaries, you start creating invisible walls. But these non negotiable expectations are your emotional immune system that you need to rebuild in toxic relationships. And toxic relationships don't have to manifest on purpose. You don't have to get a person who just thought to themselves, I'm creating a toxic relationship. I'm going to fuck this person over. It's not that. It is just that you two got together and your negative behavior patterns have developed a toxic relationship between the two of you in an unintentioned, accidental fashion. And now that you recognize it, you guys got to fix that. You do have to communicate with one another, but you have to fix your side first before you have an intervention with your partner and have your partner recognize that you've changed. Because one of the things that you notice is that if you're trying to improve a system and you start doing better, everybody else in the system will see you doing better. They're going to start asking questions. Why are you doing it different? Why are you performing different? Why are you performing inherently better? And then they're going to emulate that. So, a percentage of this, they can see what you do, inquire why you do it, and then start practicing what you do, and then inherently just start doing it different and doing it better because they saw you doing different and they saw you doing better. On the other hand, people that just don't pay attention, they're not very observant. Those are the ones that after you start behaving better, you pull your partner aside and you let them know, um, I've been feeling different about the relationship, this, that, and the third. These are the things that I've been working on with myself. I'm hoping that you will be able to help me out with that because I need this type of change from you, something to that effect, right? And you can show them what you were doing to make change. And then whatever they decide to do with that information, they decide to do it. Now, in toxic relationships, the system has been systematically taken down. The immune system that you used to have that kept you sane. CBT helps you rebuild it by first reframing the thought you have about these non negotiable expectations for behavior. You might have an automatic thought that says, setting a boundary is selfish. Or if I say no, they'll leave me. We need to restructure that thought. A more balanced thought would be setting non negotiable expectations is an act of self respect. And fellas, it's an act of self preservation. Healthy people expect and respect non negotiable expectations and, in some situations, boundaries. You have to recognize that my safety and my sanity aren't up for debate. Your safety and your sanity are not up for debate. Once you reframe that thought, you can move to the next level and start working on behavior. And make sure that you guys like and subscribe as y'all come through here. Creating and rehearsing non negotiable expectations in a script is going to be important. And these are pre-planned and simple and firm statements. And these are going to be firm statements that you can use when a line is crossed. Now, the key is to practice them out loud when you're calm so they're ready to go when you're stressed. This is not yelling at each other. This is not cussing and fussing or nothing to that effect. This is verbal declarations that set a precedent. Example, criticism. I'm not going to continue this conversation while I'm being insulted. I'm going to step out of the room now. That's it. And this isn't, I'm going down the street and shag the neighbor or nothing to that effect. I'm leaving this room. I'm going over there and I'm going to take some time to myself. Now, some of us have that partner that wants to follow us into the other room because they're not done talking. That's fine. You left the conversation room. You went into a different room. While you're in that different room, you have absolutely nothing to say. They cannot argue with themselves. They can follow you into that room, and you might even get another 20 or 30 minutes of ranting. But there going to come a point where they're going to ask you, don't you have something to say? And you will reiterate that I ended this conversation because I felt insulted. And I will readdress this conversation later after I have calmed down from how I felt. It doesn't matter if they think they insulted you because they could have clearly insulted you. They could have demasculated you as a man. If you're dealing with this and and the man is doing it, he could have insulted you as a woman. They could have talked about your mama. They could have talked about your children. They could have really dug deep with the insults and then turn around and make it seem like it's your fault that they insulted you. It doesn't matter. What matters is that the moment you felt insulted, you no longer participated in the conversation. So whether they did it on purpose or not, once you felt insulted, you stopped participating in the conversation. That is first person accountability, taking responsibility for yourself by not allowing yourself to go through that anymore, and then taking responsibility for the other person's behavior by leaving the conversation. You're not leaving the person, you're just leaving the conversation. Okay. Now, for demands for an instant answer, when they could answer me, you're going to talk to me, blah, 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 blah. I need some time to think about it and I'll get back to you. Reinforcing the fact that you stopped participating when you were insulted, you will start answering questions again when you stop feeling insulted. It doesn't matter. Oh, well, how long? When? I'll get back to you. I'll let you know. That's it. Like that conversation is dead. If you entertain it, it'll keep going. But if you stop it right there, it is done. Now, for a circular argument is when you started talking about something, you left the main topic, you went somewhere else, you went somewhere else, you're back on the main topic, you've never resolved the main topic, but you keep touching the main topic over and over and over again. Or something happened, you may have done something wrong, you apologize for it, and they keep bringing it up after you apologize for it. It doesn't matter how it works. When you recognize that we're rehashing the same information repetitively, you want to remind them that we've already discussed this and I'm not going to argue about it anymore. That conversation stops. No matter what they say, no matter how much it gets to you, you do not communicate on it anymore. Now, this is not ghosting your partner. This is not silent treatment. We could talk about anything else that you want to talk about. That conversation stops. So if you want to sit here and watch TV, we could talk about Seinfeld. We can watch a movie together. We can have dinner. I can cook. You can cook. We can go to the park. We can take the kids out for a drive. We can take the dog down the street. Whatever you want to do. But this conversation will not continue. And that's something that we have to make clear. You are not ghosting your partner in this situation. You are letting your partner know that if they can get past their negative emotions, we can do something else together and change this environment right now. But I will not participate in this negative experience anymore. So as long as you're talking to me about that, I got nothing to say. But as soon as you talk to me about John Cena's favorite highlights, you got a conversation all over again. I could talk about how The Rock beat his behind in WrestleMania. We can talk about it, you know. But this chaos, we're not talking about that no more. Now, for the silent treatment, because I know that a lot of times as men, we have come up and we've asked our girl, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" Blah blah blah. And if we get it, it's nothing. And then she got the arm crossed and she's turning her back. And when we come to lean in and try to console her, she's pushing us away and doing this and all of this and matrix trying to get away from the affection kind of situation. Look, instead of chasing them, say plain and simple, I can see you're not ready to talk. I am going to go read my book or play the video game or watch a movie, work on the car, whatever. Let me know when you're ready to communicate respectfully. That's it. They're not interested in telling you what the hell is wrong with them. It is no reason for you to sit there and pry it out of them. They don't want to tell you what's going on. You treat them like first 48. You treat them like NCIS. You leave them in the interrogation room and wait until they feel like talking. I ain't gonna ask you nothing else, right? Notice the structure. I will not tolerate X, and I am going to do Y. Plain and simple. You're stating your non negotiable expectations for behavior and the consequences for that behavior. This isn't a negotiation, it is a declaration of your reality. When you rehearse these in the mirror, say them in your car by yourself, make them feel like second nature to you. Okay. Then we reach up to step 5. We're running behavioral experiences and experiments. Your anxious thoughts make predictions that keep you stuck. If I don't answer their text right away, they'll fly into a rage. If I go out with my friends, they'll punish me for a week. If I disagree with them, I will start a huge fight, right? A behavioral experiment is a safe, controlled way to see if those predictions are actually true. You design a small, manageable experiment. Let's say your fear is about not responding instantly. The prediction is if I wait 30 minutes to reply to their text, they're going to get pissed off and accuse me of ignoring them or cheating on them. So, in the experiment, the next time you get a non urgent text, and a non urgent text is them talking to you about some bullshit that could have clearly waited while you're in the middle of something right now, where their internal organs are not externally out of their body, but they're calling you or texting you about insignificant stuff as if it was urgent. You're deliberately going to wait 30 minutes before you reply. The measurements here, you observe what actually happens. Write down the outcome. What if they don't even notice it? What if they reply normally? What if they're a little annoyed, but it's not a catastrophic scenario that your anxiety predicted? What if they fly off the handle and start texting you profusely and prove exactly what you thought? Each time you run an experiment and survive the experiment, you gather more data showing your fears or either overblown or rightly substantiated. You're building a tolerance for their disapprovals and providing to your nervous system proof that you're more resilient than you once thought. You want to start small. Maybe the first experiment is just not apologizing when they slam the doors. Stop apologizing when you didn't do anything wrong. I'm gonna tell you right now, it is allegedly common courtesy when you start talking to somebody, you mention a friend or family member, and they respond to you, that person is dead, and then you come back with, I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck. I didn't know they were dead, and I didn't insult them. I'm not apologizing for the fact that they're dead because I didn't do it. I didn't kill them. I don't know what's going on with that scenario. They're gone, and I didn't know about it. So why am I apologizing? I recognize that if your feelings are hurt, that wasn't my intention. So at most, my response to that would be, I didn't mean it in offense. That's it. Not apologizing for it. They're going through some stuff. You're not apologizing for what they're going through. Your friend crashed their car and they come crying on your shoulder. I am not sorry that you fucked your shit up. I don't care that you fucked your shit up. You did that. I didn't do that. Uh, the actually, and truth be told, forever apologizing, while yes, it's a people pleaser thing, it's a conflict avoidant thing, it takes the meaning out of it. You realize that you're a broken man when you forever apologize for stuff that doesn't matter, and you're forever apologizing for stuff that you didn't do wrong. That is the first sign. That's like that tapping you hear in the car when you start it. You know one of the lifters are bad. You know you need a head job on it. You're gonna ride with it like that because you ain't got the money to pay to fix it, but you know that it's broke. Because every time the engine turned over, you hear tat 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 tat. Just like that, a broken man. Every time a situation happens, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm sorry. Cut that shit out, bro. Stop apologizing for stuff that you didn't do wrong. Stop apologizing for stuff that you had no knowledge about. Stop apologizing for things that you was not involved in. I am not sorry that I didn't know. If I was supposed to be there and I'm not there, then I should apologize for not showing up. Unless I told you that I wasn't going to be able to make it because I had something else to do. In that scenario, I am still not sorry. I knew I wasn't going to be there. I told you about it and you didn't care. So I don't care about how you feel about the fact that I didn't come because I told you that I wasn't coming. The same way you treat your boss when you ask for time off from work for something important and they tell you that you can't have that day off from 3 months ago when you asked for it because it's a blackout week, and you tell them, well, you can black my name out of the fucking schedule for that day because I'm not coming. If you expect me to show up, it's going to be a short shift. That exact same behavior is going to be the exact same behavior when you're telling somebody that matters to you that what you've got going on in your life is equally important to you as what they've got going on in their life. So stop apologizing for stuff that you didn't cause. Okay. And ladies, you too. Stop apologizing for stuff that you didn't cause. Okay. So with this apology experiment, when they slam stuff, I ain't apologizing for the fact that you slammed some stuff. Matter of fact, I might tell you quit slamming that shit because you're giving me a headache. But the next experiment that you might decide to get yourself into might be a small preference, like what to watch on TV. They might flip out because you pick certain types of shows. We'll see because I'm not changing the channel. Each experiment is a small act of liberation, stretching the walls of the cage that you probably put yourself into until those cages start to crumble. Now, step six is going to be developing distress tolerance and coping skills. Now, make sure if you guys are benefiting from any of the information that you're getting from me today, make sure that you guys take the time to like and subscribe. Hit that follow button if you're watching from Twitter or Twitch, because I see there's a lot of you coming in from Twitter and Switch. Leaving a toxic relationship or even just starting to change the dynamic is incredibly stressful. You'll feel powerful, gut wrenching urges to fall back into those old familiar patterns. The urge to apologize, to seek their approval, to text them after deciding on no contact. And CBT gives you tools to ride out these urges without acting on them. One of the most effective skill sets is grounding. When you feel that wave of panic or sadness, bring yourself into the present moment using your five senses. And this is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. Number five, you want to name five things that you can see around you: the lamp, crack in the ceiling, your own hands. Let's do a little bit better than I've got five fingers and five different things, okay? Because this is supposed to reset your brain. Number four, you want to name four things that you can feel: the texture of your jeans, the cold surface of the table, your feet on the floor. Number three, you want to name three things that you can hear: the humming from the fridge, the car outside, your own breathing. Shit, you might have tinnitus and you have this ringing in your ears that just never stops. And while you're trying to pay attention to this, now it's ringing a little bit louder. That's fine. Acknowledge it because you never get rid of tinnitus. And ironically, stress and anxiety makes it worse. Anger and frustration, gritting your teeth, clenching your jaws makes the tinnitus in your ears worse. So we're going to try to alleviate a lot of your stress here so that some of those symptoms can kind of die down some. But you want to name two things that you can smell, at least two, and hopefully neither one of them is musty. But if there's a faint smell of coffee, the soup on the sink, if you're in a situation where it's the dirty laundry and the wet dog, whatever it is, you recognize it. If it's something that smells bad, you want to change that, give the dog a bath, and go do you some laundry. And then the last thing is name one thing that you can taste, not an aftertaste, something that you can currently taste, like the mint from your toothpaste, or actually, if you have something in your mouth that was just there, it might be just the inside of your mouth, but you want to name something that you can taste. Hot pocket that I just ate. This is a simple exercise that pulls your brain out of the spiral of past hurts and future fears and anchors it in the reality of the present. Another technique is to simply label the urge. I am having the thought that I need to text them, or I am experiencing the urge to apologize. By labeling it, you create space between you and the feeling. It's not you, it's an urge you are experiencing. And like a wave, it will crest and fall if you just watch it without feeding into it. Okay. And we're almost halfway through. So swing with me because we got a lot more stuff that we're going to learn here. Actively rebuilding your self esteem is going to be step number seven. So make sure that you guys like and subscribe as we keep going through this. A toxic relationship is a sustained attack on your self esteem. It's designed to make you feel worthless and dependent. It's why actively rebuilding your sense of self isn't a luxury. It's a core part of your exit strategy. This requires deliberate, scheduled actions. First, start a daily log of your strengths and accomplishments. This can feel incredibly hard, and it's going to be an unnatural feeling at first because it's been a while since you've done this. The inner critic is your partner, not your romantic partner. Your inner critic is someone that your partner helped build with screaming that you have no strength, ignoring it, uh, forcing yourself to write down one of the things every day that you do will benefit you and improve you and empower you. This is going to be a weird way to go about doing things because I know you're not going to feel comfortable with it. But um, ladies, real quick, telling your man that you don't need him, that is a very demasculating and belittling thing to do. Even if you don't need him, you don't tell him that. You, think about this real quick. Those of you that have children, um, only when you're frustrated do you tell the kids you don't need their help, right? When they're really screwing up the rotation, that's when you get frustrated and you tell them you don't need their help. Beyond that, even if they are not effective at all in this situation, you will give them something to do so that they will feel useful in this situation. You're trying to change the tire on a car, you'll have them hold the flashlight. You're cooking, you'll have them set the table. You're cleaning, you'll have them take the plate out of your hand and put it directly into the dish rack, even though that motion is something you could have done yourself. If you're cleaning the floor, you might give them a towel to have them help you clean the floor with them. You find them something to do so that even though you didn't need their help, you can benefit from their help. Or at least they can benefit from helping you because they feel useful because they're being utilized by you in that moment. And these are your children. So your boyfriend and your husband, y'all should never tell these men that y'all don't need them because that is the fundamental core of a man's expectations in life. A masculine man is to be utilized because you don't have to need them, but men are taught to be needed. And we have to break ourselves out of that scenario. So you don't never tell a man that you don't need him because you take his purpose out of his life. And the core being of a man is to be duty bound and purposeful. So if we have no duties and any purpose, what are we going to be doing with our free time now? Chaotic stuff that you're not going to approve of. So your man want to be helpful. You ain't got to need him, but you're going to put his ass to work. It is what it is. You don't need him, but that's not going to mean what your boss tell you when if you show up for work on your day off and they shorthanded, they're not going to tell you to go home. You might have not have was supposed to be here, but damn it, you're gonna clock on right now. You're gonna get to work. You understand? And you gotta treat your relationships the same way. But when we're starting to address this documentations of change, you want to force yourself to write down one thing every day that you have done, that you have accomplished. I handled a difficult customer at work with grace. I made a healthy meal today. I was a good listener for some of my friends. Ironically, throughout this list, you might find that you're doing way too much stuff for other people. And that's when you start recognizing people pleaser behavior patterns. because you're overexhausting yourself by doing too many things for too many people and not focusing on benefiting yourself. Because it's good to be an asset to your network, but not to the magnitude that you personally have nothing left. You can document, because if you've been following along with the show, you can document that I finished step 7 of tonight's show. Doesn't matter what it is. Collect this data. This is your evidence to use against the core belief that you're not good enough. Second, you have to practice what's called behavioral activation. Depression and anxiety make us pull back from life. You have to intentionally schedule activities that align with your values and bring you even a tiny flicker of interest or joy. Activities that have nothing to do with your partner. Schedule a walk in the park without them. Take the dog for a walk. Schedule 15 minutes to listen to an album that you love, that you used to be able to listen to, that you can't listen to anymore because your partner always controls the playlist. Schedule a call with a friend that you haven't talked to in a while, one that you used to talk to on a regular basis, but you stopped talking to them because of the relationship that you're in right now. Not saying that you're going to start talking to those ex female partners that you used to have, the friends that you haven't been talking to for a minute, that you stopped talking to for the safety of the relationship. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about your homeboy from way back when that y'all lost touch. Put it on your calendar like a doctor's appointment. And even if you don't feel like it, you're going to do it anyway. The action comes first. The feelings of motivation and joy will follow. You're rebuilding a life outside of the relationship and reminding yourself that you are a whole person on your own, right? Step 8 is going to be creating a practical exit plan in some of these toxic relationships. As you work through these steps, your clarity and strength is going to grow. The fog is going to start to lift, and now you can begin thinking about the logistics of leaving if you have determined that this is necessary because of the relationship that you're in. This doesn't mean that you have to leave tomorrow, but creating a plan that makes the idea real and achievable if it comes down to it. This is what you need to start considering. So start with a simple pros and cons list, not of the person, but of the relationship. And be brutally honest. Then expand that to the pros and cons of leaving. Acknowledge the fears and the difficulties. Next, start breaking down the exit into the smallest possible steps. This makes the overwhelming feeling very manageable. A lot like breaking down a massive math problem into individual steps. What documents do I need? ID, birth certificates, etc. Can I make copies and store them at a friend's house or put them in a storage unit? What are my financial resources? Can I open a separate bank account in my own name, or do I already have one that my partner doesn't utilize? Who is in my support network? Who is one trusted person that I can tell that is not going to bring that information back to my partner? Where do I go? Can I research local shelters or talk to a family member about staying with them for a while? A special shout out. You tell them, bro, they've got some shelters out there for men that are getting out of domestic violence. You got to understand this is some deep stuff. And fellas, we've got to learn how to get through these things. You don't have to act on these steps right away, but you do need to start curating these lists for yourself. The act of planning itself is a powerful cognitive shift. It moves you from the position of a victim who is trapped into a strategist who is planning their liberation if the situation doesn't improve itself. Now you're getting ready for the triggers that you know will come. the guilt, the loneliness, the pleading text, and you're building a fortress of coping skills and the logistical support around yourself to elevate you out of that toxic relationship. Now, these 8 steps are your structured boot camp. They require daily practice. It's like going to the gym for your mind. It can be hard, repetitive work. Nevertheless, this is how you build the mental and emotional muscles you need to walk away and never look back when it is necessary. Now that we have that solid structured foundation of the traditional CBT, let's get a little creative. Worksheets and thought records are incredibly powerful. Nevertheless, sometimes we need different tools, and we're going to utilize them to get around our own mental defenses, especially when we're dealing with the deep, tangled roots of a trauma bond. Now, these unorthodox techniques are still based on core CBT principles. They're framing your thoughts and activities to activate new behaviors. Yet and still, they use imagery, metaphor, and even play to create distance and insight in a way that can feel more intuitive. Okay, so you're going to use imagery, metaphors, and play to create distance and insight in a way that can feel more intuitive. Are you ready for it? The creative ways to identify toxicity. The body first check in. For years, your mind has been trained to rationalize, deny, and excuse toxic behaviors. Your body doesn't lie. Your nervous system keeps the score. So instead of asking, was that bad? Start asking, how does my body feel? Okay. Before you see your partner, do a quick scan. Is your stomach relaxed? Is your breathing easy? Now, do the same thing during an interaction after they leave. Is there still a knot in your stomach, a tightness in your throat, a feeling of numbness, or dread? Your body is the most honest red flag detector. Track these physical sensations. Felt a cold dread in my chest when I heard their car pull up. This data is irrefutable. It bypasses the gaslighting and gets right to the truth. The reverse thought experiment. Love experiments because gaslighting phrases are designed to make you question your sanity. You're too sensitive. You're overreacting. And they're going to say that you're overreacting because they don't want to take responsibility for you holding them accountable in that moment. So if you are overreacting, then they are not wrong. Nah, fuck that. They're wrong. They're wrong as fuck. And you're making a big deal out of nothing is going to be their way of dismissing and sweeping under the rug their failures. A powerful way to break this spell is to reverse the phrase and see if it fits the facts. They say you're just too sensitive. You silently flip this. You are not sensitive enough to my pain. Does that feel true? Yes, you expressed a need and they dismissed it. So they're not sensitive enough to recognize your pain. And that's a lack of sensitivity on their part. They say you're crazy for thinking that. You silently flip that. Is it crazy that you're denying something that clearly happened? Does this align better with the facts? Of course it does. This isn't about arguing with them. It's about internally, subconsciously, inner monologue, exercising a recalibration of your own sense of reality. You are taking their distorted lens and flipping it right side up. A third person narrative. And I love the third person narrative. And I mean, even The Rock uses a third person narrative on a regular basis in his dialogue. It's incredibly hard to be objective when you're in the middle of the story. So you take yourself out of it. Pretend you're writing a book or a movie script about a character, and character A does this, and then character B feels this way, and then character A tells character B that what they're feeling is wrong. Write it out. And it's a recent third party experience. When you see this laid out as a story about someone else, the conflict is detached from the feelings, and the dynamic becomes shockingly clear. The manipulation, the lack of empathy, the control, it all comes into sharp focus. You would never want a friend to stay in a relationship like the one that you're describing. And this shift gives you the clarity and compassion for yourself that you would easily offer to anyone else. So you don't have to search their phone for an excuse to leave. You can just evaluate your experiences in the relationship and decide if that's enough. Now we're going to create cognitive interventions. We're like three-quarters of the way through, so stay with me. Make sure that y'all like and subscribe. It's going to be a minute. The inner jury or wise counsel that you have when your inner critics is screaming that everything's your fault, you need a new panel of judges because this is the feelings that's inside of you. Close your eyes and imagine a council of wise, compassionate figures. Not the four wise men. We're not trying to do those, not Johnny Walker. But this council of wise, compassionate figures, they are to be anyone, a historical figure that you admire, a beloved fictional character, LeBron James as an actually good athlete, like a fictional character now. It's a kind grandparent or even your future healed self. The mental thought of a board of executives that is deciding what's going to happen, you can create this yourself. Present your case to them. My parent yelled at me, and I feel like that's my fault. Now, imagine what this council would say. Would Gandalf or Dumbledore agree that it was your fault? Or would the kindest person you've ever known tell you that you deserve to be yelled at? Almost certainly not. They'd offer compassion and perspective. This exercise outsources the balanced thought that we talked about over an hour ago. The process to a source that you trust, especially when you don't trust your own voice yet, is very beneficial in building a behavior pattern that benefits your personal improvement. Sarcastic relabeling. This is going to be your second step. Cognitive distortions are often repetitive and excessively predictable. So give your most common disordered thoughts silly, sarcastic nicknames. And that's a familiar spiral of what if everything goes wrong popping up. Instead of thinking it seriously, greet it with a little humor. Oh, hello there, catastrophe Carl. Fancy seeing you here. Not buying what you're selling today. Or if the thought is, it's my fault, appears, you can say, the it's always me show. It's on again. I think I'll change the channel. Humor creates immediate emotional detachment. It signals to your brain that this thought isn't a credible threat. It's just a ridiculous reoccurring piece of my mental spam. Okay. Now, the future that your therapist letter is going to be utilized will be the third step that we're going to use. And this isn't an actual therapist. This is you as a therapist writing your own letter for yourself. And this is a powerful visualization experience. Imagine yourself 5 years in the future. You're healing, or well, you should have been healed already, and you should be extremely happy at this point, and living a peaceful life free from the relationship that you're going through right now. At this point, you want to write a letter from this future self to your present self. Let them tell you what happened. Let them tell you that you did fine and you found the strength to leave. The letter might start something like this: Dear me, I know how scared you are right now. I remember thinking I could never leave, that I wasn't strong enough. But I want you to know from here in the future that you did it. It was hard, but it was the best decision you ever made. Here's what life looked like now. This exercise provides a powerful dose of hope and reframes leaving not as a terrifying end, but as a necessary beginning of a much better chapter. And if you really wanted to go the extra mile with it, you can mail the shit to yourself, not at your house because your partner will see it and they're going to flip out about it, but to your mailbox or email it to yourself and then read it later. Mail it to yourself at your job and then read it later. Once you come back across it a second time, you'll know. Yeah, you could actually write that letter out, hold it for a week or two, then drop it in the mail. Now, we're on to the next level. We're going to have to create non negotiable expectations that work. There is an identification of a boundary costume. And this might sound silly, but it's based on the idea that what we wear can influence our thoughts. Before you have a difficult conversation or set a non negotiable expectation, you put on an item of clothing that makes you feel strong, not a hooker outfit, an outfit that makes you feel strong. It could be a specific jacket, a pair of boots, or a piece of jewelry, or your Second Amendment body armor, whatever it is. This item becomes your powerful costume or your boundary armor. Special shout out to Taka. How you doing, Taka? Now, this armor is going to create a physical anchor, linking the feelings of strength to the act of setting a new non negotiable expectation. When it's time for the real conversation, wearing that item can help trigger the confident mindset that you practice before you started this engagement. Silent micro boundaries is going to be the next step because if you're speaking a boundary out loud, it feels too dangerous or overwhelming to some people. If you start with silent internal boundaries, the next time your partner is monologuing or demanding you to provide them with your undivided attention, you make a tiny behavioral shift. Maybe you don't make constant eye contact. Maybe you don't give the constant affirmation. Maybe you just mentally say no or I disagree inside your own head, or you can practice delaying your response to a text by 1 minute, then 5 minutes, then 10 minutes. And these are safe, invisible experiments that begin to assert your autonomy to your own nervous system, building your capacity for bigger boundaries later on. Like I've got a buddy that will call me when they know that I'm in the middle of work. I listen to the ringtone. He's got a specific one. And when I hear that ringtone, I see his name on a caller ID and I don't even touch the phone. He'll ring as well to voicemail. Then, when I'm off, after I told him when I was going to be off, then if I call him back or text him, I'll call him back or text him. And during my availability to find out what was going on when I wasn't available. And my buddy would try to give me some bullshit. Oh, it's nothing. Fuck you, it was nothing. If it was nothing, you wouldn't have called me when you knew I was busy. So whatever the hell it was important enough for you to reach out to me so you tell me what the hell you called me for. And I won't let it go. Every time we talk to one another, you called me the other day when I was in the middle of something. You knew I was in the middle of something. What the hell did you want? I'm for real. I'm not getting past it until you get it off your chest why you was fucking with me about it. Then when we finally work it out, I let them know. Now, the time it took for you to tell me what the hell was wrong with you is the time you could have waited to tell me that something was wrong with you. So it clearly wasn't that important. I made my point by making my point. Now, number three is going to be this energy budget. Toxic relationships are extremely exhausting because they drain your mental and your emotional resources at the same time. Start treating your energy like a financial budget. So let's say you start each day with 100 units of energy. Begin to quantify the cost of interactions. 10 minutes curricular a 10-minute circular argument might cost you 40 units. An hour of walking on eggshells might cost you 60. Now, just seeing a text from your partner might cost 15. At the end of the day, look at your balance. I'm at zero, I'm at a negative, and it's only 7 o'clock. This is no longer a vague feeling of being tired. It is a data driven account of how much the relationship is costing you mentally and emotionally. Now, this reframes staying not as a matter of love, but as a matter of emotional bankruptcy. Now, these unorthodox hacks aren't a replacement for the structured work of CBT, but they provide powerful supplements. They infuse the hard work of healing with creative humor and self compassion, making detachment feel less like a clinical exercise and more like a creative act of reclaiming your own mind. Now, we're covering some deep and difficult territory here, and I just want to acknowledge the courage it takes to even watch tonight's show for as long as you have. Because if this is resonating with you, especially if you just got here. If you're finding even a glimmer of hope or clarity in these steps, please take a moment to click the like button, whether you're watching us from YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, whether you're watching us from a shorts reel, or if you're watching us on a long form video. It's a small action, but it tells the algorithm that this is valuable content that other people who are feeling just as stuck might need to see. And if you haven't already, think about subscribing and looking at that membership like Dylan did. My goal is to keep providing practical evidence based tools for your healing journey. And you don't have to do this alone. Now, let's move on to the most important part of tonight's show, the guide where everything we've discussed so far, all of those CBT tools, the reframing, the experiments, all of it depends on one thing, and we're going to bring it all together here, your safety. Oh, Lord. That's 30 pages of your safety. All right. CBT is a brilliant toolkit, but it is not a substitute for a safety plan, especially if the toxicity in your relationship has crossed into emotional, financial, or physical abuse. If there is any history or threat of violence, stalking, intense escalations, when you try to assert yourself, your first priority is not a thought record. It's getting to safety and connecting with professional resources. So, if your girlfriend is stalking you, fellas, and she's popping up out of nowhere, she's going through GPS trackers, where's my boyfriend at? Look, y'all gotta start working on this. Okay, she gonna be one of them women that hitting you with a skillet, throwing heavy objects at you. We got some this and that throw pillows on the channel. Y'all can get those and let them throw those. But I mean, if they're hitting you with stuff, eventually they're gonna hit you with something heavy and cause a concussion. No matter how strong of a man you are, you can only get your ass whooped for so long before you start having lifelong brain damage like Muhammad Ali. Okay, safety is a non-negotiable. You need to have an honest conversation with yourself. Has your partner ever threatened you, your children, or your pets? If she gonna call her cousins to come beat your ass, look, we need to start addressing this. Have they ever destroyed property in a rage, broke a computer, fucked up a car, broke a cup, throwing glass around the house and breaking it all over the place, throwing vases and shattering stuff? Have they ever physically harmed you, slapped you in the face, threw water on your face, spit on you, punched you, kicked you? Come on. Even a push or a shove. Do they control your finances to the point where you have no independent access to money? And if they're not able to control those finances, that they're devaluing you until they can get control over your finances? Do they isolate you from your friends and family? Do they stalk you or monitor your communication, going through your social media profile, sliding into your DMs on your behalf, and venting all of your communication? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, you must proceed with extreme caution. The period immediately before and after leaving an abusive relationship is often the most dangerous time. You first should make a call, and that call should be to a therapist. Okay. Then you also want to call a local domestic violence hotline and a shelter. They are trained experts in creating personalized, confidential safety plans that can help you leave in the safest way possible. Because I know as men, it's not the masculine thing to do to go to a shelter. But if you're living in her house, there is no way that you're going to get her out of her place. You got to take your stuff and you got to go somewhere. And if she's living in your house, the eviction process can take 30 to 90 days and she can burn your house to the ground in that time frame. You might have to take everything that is valuable to you and put it in storage and then evict her out of the house. Okay. But these resources are here because they can help you with legal options, finding safe housing, and providing support that is specifically designed for high risk situations. Because not only women are not the only parties that end up in domestic violence where they need an escape route. This is modern 2025. Men are in just as violent, just as toxic relationships as Ike and Tina, where the women are Ike. And it is a different dynamic because men are supposed to be so masculine that we're supposed to take it and we can't run from it, right? But the truth is, yes, you can. You can remove yourself, and if you're a parent, as a father, you can take your kids with you. You do not have to leave your children in her care just because she's a woman, and the state typically tries to put the children with the mother. A safety plan is a set of practical, actionable steps to increase your safety while you prepare to leave or after you've left. Again, this is best done with a domestic violence advocate. Nevertheless, here are the key components to think about. Your go bag. And I'm going to be honest with you because females got a whole stroll bag. Fellas, any of y'all that seen one of them Tarantino movies, the Transporter movies, y'all know, bro man, the hitman, three-piece suit, in a duffel bag, in the trunk. Why am I talking about that? Because y'all got a duffel bag with your gym clothes on it, but y'all don't have one bag of clothes in the trunk of your car in case the shit hits the fan at the house and you have to leave and not come back for a couple days. Y'all need to tighten the fuck up. Now you wearing the same clothes 3 days in a row because you afraid to go home and can't change the clothes. You got to borrow clothes from your homeboy. Look now, y'all got to tighten up. Prepare an emergency bag. Put it somewhere your partner won't find it, or at least they won't be paying attention to it. You pack a bag while they're not there. You put it in the car and you leave it there. Matter of fact, you could put it in the car, then you could take it to the gym, or you could put it in the car, you could take it to the storage unit, and then it is out of the house and they don't know it's gone. Leave it at a trusted friend's house, at your workplace. I'm telling you, anywhere. If y'all got separate cars, put it in your trunk. Cause what woman goes into the trunk of the car? They don't change tires. Some do, but no female in a relationship is changing tires on her husband's car. So she ain't likely to go in that trunk unless she's looking for something, right? But this bag should have essential items, copies of important documents like IDs, birth certificates, social security cards, bank information, passports, a change of clothes, essential medications, a spare set of keys, and some emergency cash. Then you want secure communications using a safe phone or a computer that your abuser cannot monitor to research your plan or to get help. This is going to be something like your friend's phone, a drop phone, a library computer, prepaid burner phone, Skype, because Skype still exists, y'all. Skype is like the what is it? The Zoom of yesterday. Skype work off of Wi-Fi and it's practically untraceable. Be aware of potential spyware because people are smart these days. And turn off your location trackers on personal devices. Identify a safe destination. You want to know where you're going because it is, without a doubt, required to be with a trusted friend or family member or somebody who understands your situation and won't be manipulated by your partner, which when you're trying to find an exit plan, it is always good to have your reinforcements in a different city so that when you relocate or when you start planning to relocate, they don't tip off your partner. And since they don't have any ties or affiliations with your partner, when you start planning to relocate, they're not going to deny you the ability to relocate. And they may even be your sword and shield to protect you as you attempt to relocate. Okay. You need to determine if you're going to be utilizing a domestic violence shelter or a homeboy's house because having a predetermined destination is going to be critical because you cannot just ride around all night until you fall asleep because they could put a bolo out in your vehicle and then they'll find you. You have to have a destination. And if you're bailing out, you are not taking their car. I don't care if they gave it to you as a gift, get you an Uber. Leave that shit they bought you at their house. Catch you an Uber and bail. Okay? Now, you want to establish code words. And this is important. Not a lot of people think about this. You should have code words for your kids. You should have code words for your kids for when things ain't working out between the adults. And you should have code words for the kids when the adults are going through some stuff and they don't want the kids to get involved. You should have some code words for the kids so that when adults come to get them that you authorized for to come and get them, they know what the word of the day is or the word of the week is, so that when the person come up that they know that you sent them because the only way they would have gotten that passcode is if they talk to you today or at least sometime this week, right? Get you a special word or a phrase that a trusted friend or family member or neighbor might recognize when they hear it. And it's got to be a common phrase or word that can be utilized in a sentence where the person you're trying to get away from won't notice it, but the person you're trying to get help from can recognize it. This is going to be something that you can say on a phone or in a text message that signals that you're in danger and that they need to call for help without you having to say call for help directly. Then you want to plan your exit. Now, think about leaving in the safest time to execute this plan. Now, this is often when the abusive person is away or at work. So if you paid for her to go on holiday, you're going to move the whole house out so that when she come back, you can relocate it without her. Make it happen. If you're going to do it while your partner's at work, make it happen. Who can support you during the actual exit? Who can help you carry stuff out of the house? Do you need to get a moving crew? What's going on? Can a friend be on standby? You got to put all the stuff together. Leaving is often just the beginning because the abuser may escalate their attempts to control you through harassment, pleading, or threats. And you need to plan for this as well. So you want to, as soon as you leave, go to the no contact method, which is safe. The cleanest way to break cycle is to go completely no contact. You want to block their number, block their social media accounts, block their emails, and then delete them some bitches. This isn't about being cruel. It's about protecting your mental peace and breaking the trauma bonds. If you have a co-parent situation, all communication should happen through a monitored low contact app and should be strictly about logistics. Change your routines. You want to alter your route to and from work. You want to go to a different grocery store or gym for a short while, if not forever. The goal is to make you less accessible to them and reduce your movements and stop making you so predictable because they can find you if they know where you're always going and where you will always be. They know exactly where they can wait for you and you will show up. So if you start switching things up, they're not going to know where to find you. You're going to be informing key people and you want to decide who at work you can inform of your situation, like human resources or building security. You want to inform your children's school or daycare about who has permission to pick up your kids and provide a copy of any restraining orders if you have one, and you should have gotten one by now. Then you want to prepare for the emotional triggers because you will have moments of intense guilt, loneliness, and doubt. And this is a normal part of withdrawing from a trauma bond. Have a plan for these moments. Create a list of trusted people to call. Have your CBT coping skills ready. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise, your balanced thoughts, and list of reasons why you left. So, all of the stuff that I've been talking to you about has led you up to this point. When the urge to go back hits, call an ally, read your list, go for a walk, ride the urge like a wave until it passes. You do not have to, and you shouldn't do this alone. Healing from a toxic relationship requires a lot of support. A trauma informed therapist is beneficial to get. You want to find one who has experience with CBT and, crucially, with trauma and relationship abuse. They can provide structured guidance, validation, and help you process the complex emotions. Now, online therapy can be great and it's an accessible option. The Trump phone came out in late August, mid September, and it was offering concierge therapists through the phone. So you could just push a button and get you a free therapist because it's included to the phone plan. You should be running that route. Matter of fact, for less than $50 a month, why not get a Trump phone? The therapist is $30 a month. So the phone is like $10, $15 more than the therapist. Then you want to start looking into some support groups. Connecting with others who've been through similar experiences is incredibly validating. It shatters the isolation and shame that toxic relationships thrive on. Hearing other people's stories make you feel less alone and provide a community of support. Medical and legal professionals are going to be the next thing that you're going to pay attention to, but you're doubling back to it after already addressing some of it before. But you want to get a checkup from your doctor. Chronic stress takes a huge physical toll on your condition. And if needed, you want to consult with a lawyer to understand your rights and options for things like restraining orders and divorce or custody as those issues arise in your individual situations. Your safety plan is a living document. It's your shield. It's the practical expression of the belief that you deserve to be safe. And you want to pair these with practical steps with the psychology and a lot of the psychological tools of CBT, which is the most powerful contributions and massive combinations for not just leaving, but for healing and building a life with yourself. And you will never find yourself in this situation again. You are not alone, and help is always available. Each safety element included a specific action. And I want to give you again a brief explanation of why it's crucial. Hotlines and shelters are important because if you call your local domestic violence hotline or shelter for guidance, they can help you create a safe exit plan and connect you with confident support. Men can absolutely call domestic violence hotlines and shelters for guidance and safety plans. Many services are required to support all survivors, including men. Therapy is going to be the next one on your list. You want to look for a trauma informed therapist, especially one who uses CBTs. A trained therapist gives you structured support, coping tools, and validation of your experiences. Men can work with a trauma informed therapist, including CBT therapists, to process abuse, learn non negotiable expectations for behavior, and rebuild their self esteem. Support networks are the next one on the list. And you want to tell a trusted friend or family member what's happening and agree on a code word. This builds accountability and allows you to get quick, helpful um, assistance from the people that you know in the case of an emergency. And men can tell trusted friends or family members and set up a code word so that they can also signal when they need help or a safe place to go. Your no contact tools are going to be very essential. You want to block the person. And I've said this before everywhere that they can contact you, you want to block that person and then delete that contact information. If in the event that it is safe for you to do so, you want to do this. But if you have children involved and you don't have possession or custody of the children, you want to make sure that you have at least one documented line of communication. So only communicate via email or only communicate via text message so that you can take screenshots of the communication so that you have the proof of the communication from the person that justifies whatever motion that you file in the court in order to make them leave you alone. Limited contact will help break the cycle of abuse and manipulation and support healing from trauma bonds. Men can block these numbers as well to reduce harassment and manipulation as long as it is safe and does not conflict with any legal requirements like child custody or court orders. Now, we've covered a huge amount of ground today and we've walked through the structured steps of CBT, giving you a logical way to map your thoughts, test your fears, and set non negotiable expectations for behavior. We've explored creative hacks to help you find clarity when you're feeling lost and confused. And most importantly, we've laid out the non negotiable priority of creating a solid safety plan. So, from understanding these cognitive loops that keep you stuck to using the reverse thought experiment to find and fight against gaslighting, to packing a go bag, each of these steps is an act of defiance. It's a declaration that you're taking your life back, and this is not an easy path. It requires immense courage, and the very fact that you watched this entire video this far is a testament that the strength you already have is enough to take that leap. The journey to breaking free is just that, a journey. It is not a single event. There will be good days and there will be hard days. But now you have a map and you have the tools and you have the guide. And you want to be remembering and reminding yourself to be kind to yourself through this process. You are unlearning years of conditioning, and that's going to take a lot of time. You do deserve peace and you deserve respect. You deserve to feel safety in your own life and in your relationships. And you, by far, deserve a future that's defined not by fear, but by freedom. And then I want you guys to hold on to those thoughts. Now, if tonight's show helped you, please consider sharing it. Not going to be that hard. Sharing it with somebody you know, share it with somebody that you don't know, share it with somebody that you think that'll use it, share it with somebody that you think will argue with it, and then they can put their comments in the comment section and we can debate it out. You never know who in your life might be suffering in silence and needs to hear all of the information that we put down tonight. Let me know in the comments your biggest takeaways. What is the next step you're going to take today? Reading through them can create a powerful sense of community for everyone here. And in tomorrow's show, we're going to be talking about early red flags of unhealthy relationships so you can build a future based on the foundation of health and respect that you've already got access to. Now, I want to make sure that you guys stay strong because your new chapter is waiting for you. The first steps that you have to perform is making changes inside of the realms that you can control and then navigating around the realms that you cannot. Fellas, I provide you guys with this information to help you guys become higher value men. While I give you the information to help you improve your financial life, I also got to give you the advice to help you guys improve your personal life because the decisions you make in your personal life directly impact the quantity of income that is made from your professional life, putting a strain on your relationship with your employer or causing you to raise prices on your customer base. Either one, not a good fit. Ladies, the information that I provide today in this male driven podcast is capable for you ladies to utilize and make yourselves higher value women. With that being said, I'm going to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. And then, fellas, I really appreciate you guys for showing support. Ladies, we got a lot more topics coming up. You need to go through the channel and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified the moment that we go live. I want to thank you guys again for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Landing on higher ground where excellence